This is a very important topic that's been circulating the news, the media, everything in between, because as of June 24th, 2022, the ruling of Roe versus Wade was overturned. So now what does that mean for the argument surrounding abortion rights in the United States? This is a huge topic. When Roe versus Wade was originally, when the case was originally, when that happened, it was a huge deal because there were so many unsafe procedures happening. Now we're just going back to square one with overruling it again, having states decide what they can or can't do with abortion rights, and that's not okay with me. And I feel like this is such an important thing, and everyone should be talking about it because it will truly affect so many women who feel like their rights are being stripped away from us, because they truly are. So we know that this is a highly controversial issue facing the United States today. It's really important to have conversations around this issue because truly this is affecting so many women. Our rights are truly just being stripped away from us, and people don't seem to care that much. So why is this such a big issue? It's been an issue since the 1970s, even before then. It is still now an issue, and it truly feels like we're going back in history with overturning this case. There's many arguments surrounding whether it is okay for women to have an abortion. There are also many other arguments surrounding the issue, as well as how far along is it for one to get an abortion? When is it no longer ethical to terminate your child? Sadly, a lot of people bring politics and faith into the conversation when it should just be scientific facts, data, and research. And truly, when this topic becomes so controversial like this, that is what happens. But when argument is truly based upon opinions, not much gets solved. It's hard to figure out the true solution. Honestly, since this conversation has been circulating around for so long, there's no way we can truly solve it, but we can at least keep advocating for ourselves and our rights. So this issue has been controversial, but it was only heightened when Roe versus Wade was overturned this past summer. I did some research and found that Pew Research Center finds that a large majority of the U.S. Public disapproves of the Supreme Court to overturn Roe. So this was before Roe versus Wade was actually overturned. So about 8 in 10 Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents, 82%, disapprove of the decision, as well as nearly two-thirds, 66% of those strongly disapprove. Most Republicans and GOP leaners, 70% approve, including 48% who strongly approve. So the biggest question is, should it still be illegal? Should it be legal or should it not? And I have found that people who are more leaning towards the Democratic side believe abortion should be legal, and that in the Republican side, people do not think that it should be legal. So just a little bit of historical information because this is such a long-standing argument. So in 1970, Jane Roe filed a lawsuit against Henry Wade. He was the district attorney of Texas at the time. She was challenging a Texas law making abortion illegal except by a doctor's order to save a woman's life. So at that time, many women were getting unsafe abortions, and that wasn't okay. The death toll was rising. It was a serious issue. So Roe uses the 14th Amendment, which states that the U.S. protects individual privacy, and it includes the right to abortion prior to fetal viability. And here, there's a picture of a bunch of abortion advocate rallies during the 1970s. So the Supreme Court struck down on the criminal ban of abortion in Texas, holding abortion as a fundamental right in the ruling 7-2. So here are some of the two key parts of Roe. So before viability, the government could no longer regulate if a person wished to terminate their pregnancy and of abortion, as well as the government cannot ban abortion prior to viability. So the decision eventually came down with using that 14th Amendment, the right to privacy, that it protects abortion as a fundamental right. However, the government can decide to regularly restrict access to abortion depending on the stage of pregnancy, which has still kind of been going on today. They still can, except in some cases where the states have completely just banned abortion. There's a certain time limit that you get until it is no longer ethical to terminate the baby. I also saw that this newspaper article when the court overturned it. I thought that was super cool, so I decided to put that in there. So, as of June 24th, 2022, Roe versus Wade is officially overturned. What does that mean? So in a 5-4 vote, Roe versus Wade has been overturned. That pretty much leaves the right to an abortion to be determined by each individual state. And like I mentioned earlier, since a lot of more Republicans states and people do not approve of abortion, those states have been the first ones to ban certain procedures or it altogether. As you can see, many abortion bans were coming into place. to criminalize performing procedures in 13 states such as Texas and Georgia, and then clinics are closing all over the place in Mississippi and Louisiana, and including West Virginia. But there's also a ton of states that are still protecting abortion rights. These tend to be more of the Democratic states. The problem with that is, though, people in states that can no longer get an abortion are traveling to the states where they can. Abortion clinics are, they're increasing the wait times. People are filing many appointments. And it's sad that women have to do this. But I guess it's good that there are few opportunities for them too, but traveling, the wait times, it's just crazy. But on the other side of that, there's a huge percentage of women who can't even afford to travel to get a safe abortion, and then they will have to rely on getting unsafe abortions. It's crucial that women have the access to a safe abortion and to these procedures, because there will be an increase of mortality death with this. And according to Healthline, these are all the states that have completely banned abortion procedures. Mississippi and Oklahoma, props to them, except in the case of rape or incest. I think that's awesome that they at least have that still. And then here's some more information about certain times when you're no longer, certain times during the pregnancy where you're no longer able to get an abortion, depending where you live. So, pro-life versus pro-choice, another huge argument and opinions that go in with the overall argument being abortion. Whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, that issue has truly, along with abortion, has truly divided America. And it ultimately has leaned into politics and political leaders. But in simple terms, there are truly only two sides. One can see both sides, but I feel like most people belong to one of them. Pro-life side does not support abortion, and people who are on the pro-choice side do support abortion. So a little bit of history of the pro-life movement. It gained attention in 1973 with the creation of National Right Life Committee. That committee is one of the oldest movements, and the organization is affiliated with 50 states and 3,000 local chapters. Pretty much this movement truly believes that all human life is valuable, no matter any age, whether you're a preborn baby, newborn baby, middle-aged, or even elderly. You are truly special and deserve life. They believe in fundamental rights. They tend to care and value each individual person, and like I said, most people who identify themselves as pro-life also belong to the Republican Party. They tend to practice the Christian faith, from what I've found. Pro-choice movement. This movement started to gain attention in 1969 when they started to oppose restrictions and advocate for abortion rights. And then in 1973, they became known as the National Abortion Rights Action League. And this movement truly believes that people have the right to choose what they want to do with their own body and make decisions for themselves. Every woman truly has the right to make decisions about her life and body. This movement also believes in the right to privacy and autonomy. This movement also does believe in basic human rights that belong to everyone regardless of sex, race, gender, etc. There also tends to be a trend of people who identify themselves as pro-choice also belong to the Democratic Party. And I just, according to public opinion about abortion, written by Everett Carl Ladd and Carolyn H. Bowman. This was written in 1990, so it's a little bit, it was a while ago, but some of the same ideas kind of hold true. Republicans are less supportive of the idea of making abortion legal in all cases that are Democrats or independents, but among Democrats, just 40% in 1992 and 33% in 1996 said they want abortion to be legal in all cases. That was found in 1990. If they did another public opinion, it definitely probably would have been the same, with Republicans being less supportive and Democrats being more supportive. If anything, this issue has just been more widespread and gotten more divided and more politically argumentative with Roe v. Wade being overturned again. So now some of the opinions and arguments from both sides. So there are many just different arguments that surround abortion that both the pro-choice side and the pro-life side like to argue against. And it can come down to how they practice their religion or their own opinions. But these are just some of the most repetitive ones that I have heard. So, arguments in favor of abortion. In the case of rape or incest, in cases where the mother is at risk of death or major health complications, or a young teen without the means to go through a pregnancy at such a young age, or the fact of unwanted children going through the foster care systems and developing major health issues, or even being adopted in abusive homes. I feel like these are all very important arguments that surround it because they're all very true with abortion. And for arguments on the more pro-life side that are not in favor of abortion, In the case of religious views, many people view it as murder. They believe when the egg is fertilized, it is life, it has the right to live. A woman could still have a baby and eventually give it up for adoption for a possible couple who can't conceive a child. Those are some of the arguments I heard of. That also, you have the right to those, and I feel like they're important as well. So my opinions on the issue, I just think about this scenario over and over in my head. If you're a 16-year-old girl living in one of those states that has banned abortion completely, in my example, Texas, you just found out you're pregnant with your rapist baby. You are now forced to carry out that pregnancy since you live in Texas, and they have banned all procedures of abortion. The only way you can get a safe procedure is if you travel somewhere else. But you're 16, you don't have the money to do so. You're in school, you're just trying to be a normal 16-year-old, but now you're pretty much forced to carry out rapist baby where you never consented to having sex. What would you do? I am forever grateful that I have never had to go through this. I don't know anyone else in my family that has, but there are so many, not just children, but women that are also going through this. You should never, ever have to carry out a pregnancy due to rape or incest. Never. And the fact that many of these states are now making women have to, it makes me sick. It makes me sick. So I believe in my body, my choice. Yes, I completely think abortion should be legal. And women should have the access to abortion if needed to. The biggest reason being due to rape or incest. If you did not consent to having sex, that does not mean you need to carry out the abortion. If one is raped, they have no obligation whatsoever to have a child and carry out the pregnancy. And I will truly stand by that till the day I die. I see both sides of the argument, though. I understand why people are upset. It's a hard thing to terminate a child that, first of all, maybe never meant to come, never supposed to be here. But it makes me sick to my stomach knowing that people are making laws about women's bodies and what they're allowed to do with it. Because if this happened to another person, they should not be obligated to have that child. But I also still believe that there should be a say in when it is no longer humane to terminate a child. As of right now, it's normally 10 to 24 weeks, but the procedures they vary depending on how far along one is. I do still believe in that. There should be some regulation of how long it's okay to, because I feel like when the baby's pretty grown, I don't think you should be just, terminating then. You should terminate when it's, still developing a small fetus that's not a child. So I'm a woman who've grown up in America, constantly feeling inferior to men. The fact that men still receive a higher salary compared to women's makes me feel so blindsided by the legal system in the courts. And I truly feel as my rights are being stripped away, because they are. They're literally being stripped away right in front of me. It makes me sick to my stomach that grown men who will never have to experience childbirth are making laws about my body? No. I am not okay with that. The ruling of Roe v. Wade should stay standing and should have never been overturned. It's not a discussion about what women are allowed to do with their bodies. It's their bodies. They decide. Men, honestly, no uterus, no opinion. That's what I will believe. Because pregnancy is 9 months of, honestly, it's pain. And it goes through a lot. And men will never be able to experience that. And some women, especially in the case of rape or incest, they never wanted to have the baby in the first place. And honestly, just makes me super angry that it is still 2022. And we're still advocating for women's rights. And the fact that we still don't even get paid the same amount as men, we should not be advocating for our rights at this point. So, to conclude, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, women will end up getting unsafe abortions, increase in pregnancy-related death, and then unwanted children could end up in foster care and suffer from mental health issues and abusive homes. And then men making laws about what to do with women's bodies. Yeah, no, I'm not okay with that. Ain't cool. So here are a few studies. One of the biggest ones I saw was the impact of pregnancy-related mortality rates after bans of abortion in the United States. And this was before the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So Amanda Jean Stevens found overall estimated pregnancy-related deaths would increase for a total population by 7% in the first year of the ban, and by 21% in subsequent years. The biggest concern for women surrounding abortion ban will happen. More and more pregnancy deaths will be occurring due to the fact that many women are no longer able to get safe procedures. So that's true. Now that the abortions have been banned, the mortality rates will be going up because people won't be able to get their safe procedures, and most of them will not be able to fly to get safe procedures. Science Direct also found found that, this was also before the ban, every year about 73 million induced abortions take place worldwide, according to WHO, with more than 25 million considered unsafe. Just think about how much that number will rise due to the fact that almost 13 states have completely banned safe abortion procedures. The fact is, the mortality rates of pregnancy will rise due to the banning. As women, we can fight back against this issue. We just need to keep advocating for our bodies and our rights. This is not okay with us. We need to show that. Banning abortion is so much more than just taking away our rights. It's about taking away our right to health care. While the Constitution says women have the right to privacy, they are denying our human rights when banning abortion procedures. Together, we can make change.